Hello guys, it's me again. It's been a while, but let's just get into it. Today we're racing the Ginetta G55 Super Cup at Okayama GP circuit in Assetto Corsa. We have 6 red lights and away we go. Going into this race, I expected to be much slower than everyone else and just kind of chill at the back and pick up positions as people retired from this 1 hour long race. But I ended up qualifying in P8, which is in the lower half, admittedly, but it's still well in the midfield. So I was going into turn 1 clenched into the next dimension thinking don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. And somehow, everyone got through without incident. This guy very big in my mirrors, but I knew full well he's not making it through, so I just kept my foot in it. And that was that. Into P6, gaining 2 positions right off the start. Really clean start. Now, the Pole and the New Zealander in front are fighting really hard already. So I was kind of going into braking zones early, thinking I really don't want to run into the back of these guys because that would be super embarrassing. So that's what I did. You kind of brake at the 100-meter board here usually, but I broke well at like 150 meters. Seemed to be a good decision actually because I got quite close to the pole in P5. Coming through turn 7 and turn 8 without incident. Still everyone big in my mirrors. As the pole just dies in front of me, passes away, ultimately succumbing to his wounds. Or so I thought anyway. Now the New Zealander ahead decides to try and take the fight to P3 against this guy who hadn't set a country but was just simply called David Neves. So coming out of the final 2 corners, still no incident through here yet. But I can see in the distance, I say in the distance, it's like a solid 100 meters in front of me. These two are fighting. And into turn 1, David Neves actually hits the New Zealander called Ethan wide. So that wasn't really good, but like a sportsman, he allows him back through. But this gives me a massive momentum advantage on P4, and so I thought I'd go for the move, but I thought better of it because I was way too scared to commit. So settling into P5. Quite a good start overall. Still braking more conservatively than I'd like, as I see both of them go wide into the entry of the first back straight. Thinking that I'd pull off a move, but I really wasn't close enough to do anything here, since we're not really going fast enough to get any slipstream. It's quite annoying to a certain extent, but it makes super entertaining racing at the same time. So braking once again, about 50 meters, lifting off actually 50 meters earlier before the braking zone. But cleanly keeping it through here, getting quite close to David in front, but still not making any contact. Getting a bit unstable out of turn 7, but still keeping it on track. Also forgetting to downshift on turn 8, but still, once again, extremely importantly, keeping it on track. David and Ethan fighting into turn 9 as well, as I get very close to his back end. And into turn 10, still huge in his mirrors. At this point, I would have been thinking about making a move, and I got a massive run on him on the exit. So I tried to get a look up his inside, but the curb being the size of an absolute skyscraper made me think better of it. Now me being so excited by the fact that I almost pulled off an overtaking move on a real person, forget to downshift for the last corner and go massively wide. Unforced error, no pressure, and I lose 2 positions because of it. Really stupid stuff. And quite possibly the dumbest mistake I've ever made in my life. Now while I had lost those 2 positions, I had not lost the hope to go on. Like an absolute champion, I kept going on and made the exact same mistake again going into turn 1, forgetting to downshift and going wide. It's just the dumbest 2 things I've ever done in my entire life. At this point, I would have been mentally slapping myself, thinking, Neil, you just need to focus at this point. You're losing way too many positions and you're making mistakes which no one really asked you to make in the first place. So I just thought it's time to get my head down and get some work done. Fast forward to a few laps later. And I was closing up to the Spaniard in front of me. Now, the yellow flag call is an interesting one because it usually means you can make up a couple of places as someone in your vicinity has died a horrible death, probably. So, as it turns out...
Yellow flag.
That's exactly what happens here, as he gives it a bit too much throttle coming uphill and loses it all. Just some more laps later. And while I thought I was settling into a rhythm to a certain extent, I hear the yellow flag call again, and as you can see,
pit window opens in 2 minutes. Yellow flag, caution. caution.
I get a bit too excited by the fact that I'm going to gain a couple of positions that I go wide and actually
Got
lose
outside flag
positions.
limits. Come on,
So I
keep it
lose
between
one
the lines.
position and think I'm going to lose position to the guy behind, but just about staying at the same speed as him. So I'm going to be going wheel to wheel with him in the next couple of turns.
P6.
So
Left
into
side.
turn 1,
Clear left.
side by side with him,
On your
me
left.
taking the inside line, him having the outside, switching
there.
back for turn 2 with him having the inside and me having the outside.
Still there.
Luckily, I was kind of
Clear left.
dictating the line at this point as I was
Left
ahead
side.
of him, still keeping it, being
Hold
brave
your
enough to
line.
keep my foot in it.
Clear
Although I
left.
had to let him go because it would be running him wide if I didn't do that. He just, however, going into this turn, he
On your
just left the door wide open, so I took the
Clear
invitation and walked right through the door. Comfortably sliding myself back up to the position I lost. So I'm currently in P6.
The pit window opens
Pretty
in
good
1
overtake,
minute.
all things considered. Within the same lap, just a few seconds later, I'm still high off the adrenaline of this fight that I had with this guy. Really cool fight, by the way. And I give it just too much throttle and I spin on the curb. Once again, really unforced
Okay,
error.
Neil,
Remember
pit
when I
window
said just a few seconds ago that that was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life? Here we are again. I've already topped that. Losing 3 positions, including the one I just gained. It's just so sad, the things that I did. Crumbling under pressure when nobody was really even applying any pressure to me. However, hearing the yellow flag call and seeing that the pole has gone off instantly after I lost so many positions. So this actually gave me a solid amount of hope to keep going. I was seriously considering giving up at that point, but this sort of gave me a signal that yeah, I can keep making up positions. There's a solid 49 minutes left in this race. That's not a short amount of time.
Okay, Neil, don't think about the lap times. Just hit each and every apex. Yellow flag, caution. That was 136.8. That's your best lap in the session.
So he tells me not to worry about the lap times and just focus on being smooth and fast. Yeah, and then immediately tells me my lap time, oh, you know, that's the best in the session. Like, what is he thinking? Anyway, once again, for some reason, David Neves is absolutely at a snail's pace. Probably went wide at turn
Clear
2,
left.
but just like everyone else, leaving the door wide open on the entrance to the straight. So I just walked right through the same door again. What's great about this overtaking maneuver is that me going up someone's inside there severely compromises their entry speed, and they're also not able to get the same kind of angle that they would have gotten. So I'm just easily able to get way more momentum than they can, so they can't immediately take that position back. They won't even be in slipstream range. So keeping him behind me in the next couple of corners, still on track, downshifting perfectly, and here we are, cleanly through, sticking the position. However, he is still behind me, he's still putting pressure. This time he is actually putting pressure, still on track through turn 9, going into turn 10, and I just about make it. No, I understeer out and I get hit on the back. Entirely my fault. Somehow, once again, outdoing my old record of the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Losing 2 positions and 3 from just some random guy who was cleanly driving around on his own at the back. So this is me into P9, I believe. Which is just stupid. It's just stupid, you know? Like, what am I doing? A few laps later, catching up to the back of this Russian in P9. So it turns out I was P10 actually, not P9. So catching up to the back of this Russian, and it's very plainly visible that he's way slower than us. So even though I dipped 2 wheels onto the grass, I was close enough to get the slipstream, and I cleanly passed him on the straight. Just
your
on
line.
straight line speed alone.
Clear left.
So no fighting in the braking zone, no trying to outbrake him in the corner and stuff. Just cleanly through on the straight. Probably my most conclusive move of the entire session. Although not the most exciting or extravagant. And I was able to just keep it on track after that, which is just so crucial because a lot of the time I get into this fight, or not even a fight, just generally in the vicinity of people, and then I just lose it all instantly under pressure. So catching up to the next guy in P8, the Italian man, giving it too much
Yellow flag,
throttle
caution.
just as I catch up to him, and he passes away on the uphill. And my engineer just tells me that he's going to pit,
Gonzalez, behind is pitting.
which is just a PG-13 racing way of saying he's passed away and he's basically getting his dead body towed. Anyways, catching up to the guy in P10, another Russian. Now, at the time, I didn't know that having a blue number over your name means that you're a lapped car. So I was actually not fighting this guy for position at all. I was a whole lap ahead of him. So my adrenaline was pumping as though this was 4th position. And this guy was so slow, he's backing me up through the corners. So I was just really desperate to try and get past him. And I kind of forgot that I was in a right-hand drive car and hit him with my entire left side and murdered him. So I'm very sorry if you see this, but it's no point crying over spilt milk, we gotta continue. A few laps later, catching up to P9. This is actually many laps later. I had gotten into a solid rhythm of driving in clear air, and I kind of didn't really make any more mistakes than that. Now, this is the final lap of the race. This actually ended up being my fastest lap of the race, a whole 2 seconds clear of my qualifying time, which is, I guess you could say that's weird in a certain way because that's unusual. People don't generally have that, but this was the end. This is the culmination of all of the experience I had on this track, I guess you could say, so it does make sense. Also lighter fuel load. So yeah, this was a pretty good race. I'm just gonna leave you with this whole lap to watch. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I guess I'm glad to make videos again. It was really fun to make this one.
Eighth place. There's the checkered flag.
Clear right.